Hang on just a second. I'll get you some chairs here. We'll get you set up. All right. All right, folks. Welcome back to another evening here at the historic Whiting Hotel balcony. We're going to do some Facebook Live here with Rambling with Rooster Pepper. I'm going to give an introduction here. It's like I just like to give an introduction to these guys. So we have Clarence Benish, a.k.a. Rooster Cogburn. He's a professor from Pawnee College. And we have a local gentleman here, Doc Scholl. He also does our own little version of Ned Pepper around here. But tonight he's going to kind of tune in to old Ben Johnson here, because I think there's some interesting history here to do with Ben Johnson. But I'm going to hand it over here to our evening with Rooster and Pepper here, Rambling with Rooster and Pepper. Here we go.
Well, thank you, Scott. Here again, we're at the Whiting Hotel, and I'm having a grand time staying here. And, you know, you folks could just call old Scott and book a room and come and join us some weekend. It'd be fun. I'll show you the town between Scott and I. We can show you all the sights and have a grand time. And eat at one of the many fine eateries here in town. And tonight's theme is actually going to be about food. I'm going to tell Doc here a story. It's from the Morrison Chronicles. Now, you folks that remember me for over 30 years, about 28 years ago, I started this little newsletter about my hometown that I was teaching in and living nearby it, out there on the farm. I called it the Morrison Chronicles. And it had an object. Its objective was to help me try to regain my memory, which I had lost in that crash in '92. We'll talk about that another time, but here's one of the favorite stories from that. It's entitled Dog Gravy. Now, my mother, I told a story this morning, in fact, about her feeding a thrashing crew. You remember that? Yes, sir. And back in those days, not everybody had a combine or a thrashing machine, and so you worked together. And when the machine was on your farm, your duty was to feed the thrashing crew. You had people who had to tie bundles and pitch bundles and feed those into the thrashing machine. Well, that's a lot of men. They're working in the heat of the day, and they come in hungry for lunch and dinner both. That's why they called it dinner, too, by the way, instead of supper, because it was a heavy meal, because you needed all that food after burning all those calories. So my mother was a cook, and she cooked in volume. But one of the things, and this was because she lived through the Great Depression, well, you didn't waste food. That was a sin.
Oh, my
big
grandma
sin.
went through that, too. She was all about saving food.
Yeah.
Yes,
In
sir.
fact, we had what you call, everybody had the clean plate doctrine. You clean your plate. Don't leave a morsel on it. Well, my mother took that one step further. She had, you clean all the bowls that are on the table. I don't want any food left over. That's what, you remember the leftover story? I didn't know what leftovers were. I literally did not know. I never saw one.
Nope.
Never saw one.
Didn't have leftovers back then.
I didn't know
Not
what that
really.
could have been.
You couldn't save them.
But she did have, so we had this clean bowl doctrine. And as far as, you know, when we went to school, we learned about the Monroe Doctrine. Well, the Monroe Doctrine wasn't near as important as the clean bowl doctrine. But she even had a little song, and I don't know the lyrics, Doc. Maybe you can help me out. It starts out about clean your plate, and let's see, lick your spoon, lick your fork, and it all rhymed, and
Clean your plate.
and then you stick it back in the cabinet, you know.
That was how you cleaned your plate.
Yeah, and I think what we actually did, we licked our plate, licked our spoon and fork, and then we wiped it with our shirt, and we just put it back in the cabinet. Now, I'm beyond you. We didn't actually do that. We might have used a towel first, but we spit on it first before we used a towel and cleaned it a little that way. And I'm jawing you again. But that song, that little poem, and she would recite it every, once a month. It was so cute. You'd think I'd remember. It will come back someday to my memory, and we'll just have it on another rambling.
Well, sure. Got to.
But anyway, the point is, no food is ever wasted. Now, what you'd say, well, what about scraps? Well, you save them scraps, and you make dog gravy. Now, dog gravy is a generic term because it's going to go to the cats, the dogs, and whoever, and the varmints. Now, varmints included, and that was one of my mother's favorite words, varmints, because she included all the wildlife that would come up, the possums, the raccoons, and, you know, occasional coyote, whatever. They had to be fed too, but they had to get in line after the cats and the dogs and her kids and her grandkids. She called them varmints. She called everybody a varmint. Now, you think, well, that's a mean word to be calling your kids and grandkids. Well, you don't quite understand. See, it was actually a term of endearment because she loved those wildlife too. She would talk about, well, that possum's got some babies. So, you know, I better put out some more dog gravy for the possum. And and those varmints, see, I'm using the word.
It is.
The wildlife, I think they knew how much she loved all life forms, and they would come around for a handout. Of course, they had to compete with the dogs and the cats and the kids. But so when the grandkids started coming around, she called them varmints too, but that was a term of endearment. Well, when she made her dog gravy, well, first of all, let's talk about those cats again. And those cats weren't city cats. I remember when I went to start living in town, and my wife had a city cat. I never been exposed to a city cat before.
I've seen a few.
Well, now here's the primary difference. You open up the most expensive can of cat food that you can imagine, and you put it in front of a city cat, it'll nibble maybe a morsel or two, and then let it set, and after 15 minutes or less, it don't want any of it, because it's getting old now, it's not fresh.
Finicky like my cat.
Yeah. Well, we had no such thing out there, because it was a competition. If you didn't eat it, somebody else would, and you'd be starving. And what would happen? Oh, what would happen then would be that, well, if you got too skinny, then you'd be food for somebody else. So you better eat up, and so you'd have your strength to fight for the scraps. Now, this don't mean the food was bad. On the contrary, Mother was a gourmet cook. She made those scraps taste like gourmet food. We had a gourmet cook up here last night, didn't we?
Yes, sir, we did.
Well, and this inspired my dog gravy story, because she could take the ends of carrots, ends of celery, potato peelings. It didn't matter.
You can turn grass into good.
Yeah, and she would mix it with used old bacon grease.
Oh,
now that's another story I got to tell you about the bacon grease, man. Save your bacon grease. I got to tell you a quick story about that. I should have paid a little closer attention, though, to my mother's cooking, because when I left the house when I was 18, to go to Oklahoma State University to get my 3 degrees, first grade, second grade, third grade, I took me a skillet, and I was trying to remember what Mother did, and I said, oh, I know, she saved all her grease. Well, you know, college students, they get a good apartment, and they find another one, and they were going to move there and move there. Well, I always would move my skillet, and it would still have the same grease in it, you know, full. Yeah. I had that skillet so full of grease, well, I should have figured out that you're supposed to skim off the top, you know. Well, when the bottom scum got about 3 to 4 inches, there wasn't enough room for anything to be skimmed off the top. That's when I realized I better skim the top and start over. I should have paid closer attention. And if you followed any of my cooking disasters with Rooster, voiding cooking disasters with Rooster, you'll see that I'm trying to regain some of the forgotten knowledge of my mother's excellent cooking. But back to dog gravy. This was great stuff, because those cats, dogs, varmints, it didn't matter. You could tell the pleasure that they were having and digging into that dog gravy. And so it's kind of like that gourmet cook we talked about that was here last night.
Yes, sir.
And you know, it also developed in me, and this is a little play on words that Will Rogers used to say, he never met a man he didn't like, you know.
Right. Yep.
Well, I never met a food I didn't like. And I pretty well can eat anything. I will draw the line on a couple of things, and I got a couple of stories about that. I saw on television one time they were serving live scorpions in Mexico.
I knew it. You were going to mention live scorpions. You know what
And they were charging you $5 U.S. currency to serve you a live scorpion with a pair of tweezers. And you were supposed to pick them up. I don't remember which end, but
You pick them up by the stinger with the tweezers so you don't get stung.
you would think so, but I saw them do it.
I've
It
seen them
didn't
eat
look
these
like
things.
they were doing it right. But anyway, they ate those live. Why would anybody pay $5? I don't care what, if it was pesos or dollars, why would anybody pay $5 to eat a live scorpion?
For the experience.
Well, I suppose. Well, this is, I saw that on television, but this other story comes from Belgium. I had a good friend, this was a number of years ago, before the Euros, because he paid Belgium francs.
Oh.
He was walking along the beaches of Belgium there, where all the windmills and flowers are, you know, the tulips. And he got hungry. Well, he saw over there, not too far, a little concession stand. And people were lined up, getting whatever they were serving. And so he got in that line. And it kind of looked like a hot dog. It was wrapped up in a little bun, and it had, you know, a napkin around it. So he picks it up to eat it. And when he opens the bun, the live eel raised up its head and looked right at him.
No way.
They were being served and paying for it, live eel, about this half the size of my hand here, and about the length of my hand, on a bun.
That's like eating a live snake on a bun.
Yeah, almost. It's a little bit bigger, but
a little bit slimier, too.
a lot slimier. Anyway, he took one look at that. Now, remember, he had already bought it, but the line was forming behind him. He just turned around and handed it to the guy, very grateful guy behind him. Here, you can have my sandwich. And but that's what everybody there, they weren't foreigners like him, so he was the only one that didn't know what he was getting. Those people were lined up to buy a live eel sandwich. What do you think of that, Doc?
I think if they knew it, they wouldn't have been standing in that line.
Oh, they knew it.
But they knew it.
They did know
It's a delicacy in them places. I couldn't do it.
I think they were waiting for some American or somebody that didn't know what it was, so they could get a free sandwich. Get behind that guy, and he'll turn around and give you a free
That's
sandwich.
it. That's how it
So
works.
yeah. But anyway,
I like that.
back to my dog gravy story. So now this was a regular thing. Mother would gather those scraps when she had a big enough pile. She just would whip out the skillet, start making gravy, and start throwing it in there. And it's just amazing. I think she could have put gravel in it, and it would have tasted good, because it was so good. Well, one night, wasn't the night, I come home from school about 4 o'clock, you know, school went to about 3:55 back then. And
Yeah.
I'd get home about 4:10, 4:15, depending if I hit 100 miles an hour in that 58 Ford I was driving. That's another story, yeah. But anyway, I'd come home starving, because there wasn't any time in my teenage years that I wasn't starving. I was always hungry. And I opened that door, and big, thick gravy sandwich, and I had consumed it, and I was working on the second one when Mother returned to the kitchen. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm having a gravy sandwich. What do you think I'm doing?" She said, "Well, that's dog gravy."
Oh, you're eating dog gravy.
And I said, "Well,
no. That must have been good.
yes," I said, "it may be, but it's awful good." And to this day, well, until the day she died practically, grandkids, they heard that story. It was printed in the Morrison Chronicles, and everybody read it. And then the grandkids would come, the first thing they'd say when they walked through the door, "You got any dog gravy?" And I would ask for it by name after that, too. all the years that she continued to cook. Now, I didn't let her quit cooking until she was about, I think, 93.
Oh, goodness.
She wanted to quit sooner, and I said, no, you need to wait a little longer. But you can give up cooking, but you can't give up cleaning.
Making that dog gravy.
I said, you can retire when you're 100.
Oh.
I wish I'd said 110, Doc, because, you know, she lived to be 105 just to spite me.
Well, see?
Anyway, but she did cook until she was 93.
Bless her
And
heart.
she said, I'm going to give up cooking. You do but still I'll do the cleaning and dishwashing and all that other stuff, laundry. But I'm going to give up cooking. And I said, well, all right. It took me a while to take over some of those tasks, but I didn't learn I didn't learn how to make dog gravy, though. But anyway, here is a list of some of those semi-edibles that she would put in there. Carrot ends, pea pods.
Pea pods.
You know,
pods
and the bean snapped ends.
Yep.
Yeah, the ends of the beans.
Those beans from my grandma.
Of course, the old bacon grease that she didn't think was good enough for the other gourmet food that she made. But there's an old Western movie. Talk about, taking these shortcuts and making sure that everything gets eaten, regardless of whether it's really edible or not. I call them semi-edibles. And reminds me of this episode I saw on a TV show. It was a stage station where the people had to get off and they had to eat lunch before the next stage went. And a guy was out there. He'd serve them outside on these plates. Now, an old gruffy-looking character, kind of like you, Doc, you know.
I'm kind.
And there's something about, your look when people associate that with your cooking. They just automatically assume if you look that ugly, you must be a bad cook, They want to see a nice-looking female cooking, to feel better about what they're eating. But anyway, so...
Don't cook any food for him ever.
Yeah.
He's going to think it's bad.
No, I'm a little beyond that.
Not if he ate my gravy.
That's right. I think he makes some good gravy. Do you make good dog gravy?
Well, these passengers, some of them are women now. And so they looked at this gruffy old guy in this dirty old stage station, and they said, do you wash these plates? Earlier we was talking about licking your plate clean and then wiping them with your...
Now, here we are licking the plates clean. Here.
Yeah, and then wiping them with your shirt and hanging them back up to use for the next meal. Well, she said, and they asked him specifically, how do you clean your plates? And he said, I use 3 waters.
3 waters?
Well, you rinse and you soap and then you rinse again.
Okay.
That's what they thought. That's what they thought he meant. Because after they finished their meals and all those plates were there on the table, he just picks them up and he puts them down on the ground. He said, 3 waters, come here. And that was the name of his dog.
No, 3 waters. He cleaned the plates.
He said, they asked him how he cleaned his plates. I said, I use 3 waters. 3 waters, get over here and clean these plates.
You never seen a cleaner plate.
And then after they got cleaned, he just stacked them there for the next stage line to come in.
Hey, all right.
So anyway...
That's how rough it was back in those days.
That's right. That is right. Now, I bet you got some... you got to eat this story. Here's one from the Morrison lunchroom. And I bet every kid our age, heard this story.
School lunches.
The school lunches. And now, in my case, it was the superintendent. Sometimes it'd be the principal. Sometimes it might be the cook. But in our case, it was the superintendent. He would go around and he'd say, now, clean your plate. Eat everything on that plate. Don't you know there's starving Chinese?
What my mama told me, too.
There's people in China starving.
Yes, sir, I heard that story.
And I thought, how will me eating all my food help them? You'd think if I didn't eat it, they might get some of it.
Well, you think, but they're wanting you to eat because they don't want you to end up hungry like the Chinese.
Well, they didn't say that, but my little brain said somehow I was helping the Chinese by eating all my food.
Well, my mom explained that to me in detail.
Well, I never got it explained to me, and I think I was probably in junior high or maybe a junior in high school before I figured out that's what they meant. But anyway, this one guy, he couldn't stand green beans.
Oh, man, that's my favorite.
And so, but we had that clean plate doctrine right at the school. So he come up with a plan. We had those little half-pint cups of milk, you
Yes, I know.
plastic cups.
Mm-hmm.
They cost a nickel from the machine.
Back then.
Yeah, back then. And so he thought nobody was looking. He stuffed his green beans in that empty milk carton, and he closed it back up. Well, somebody spotted him over there at the counter where you scrape your plates and you dump
Dump your garbage in the
dump your
trash.
garbage in and hand the plates over there to the Three Waters.
Tray back on.
Give it
Three
to
waters.
Three Waters.
Clean it off.
Yeah, the Three Waters is back
yeah,
there.
we got Three Waters working.
Yeah,
back
Three
here.
Waters. But somebody spotted him and reported him.
Uh-oh.
You know what that superintendent made him do?
They make you clean them dishes.
Oh, worse than that. Remember he put all that in the milk carton?
Oh, no, yeah?
Yes,
Oh,
he
that
did. He
Oh,
made
no.
him take it out of that milk carton. Now extra slimy with a little bit of leftover milk. And he made him eat those green beans. I bet they were.
What?
Yes, he did.
Oh, no
Yes,
way.
he did. So, well, you got a school lunchroom story to tell?
I got a few of those. If you all like char burgers, they were charcoal hard brick pieces of plant-made food. They thought it was meat, but it was made out of soybean and a little bit of whatever was left over. It's kind of like a hot dog. You know what those are made of, don't you?
Whatever they can.
Lips and whatever else is on the end. But it all come out good, so... But we used to eat stuff like that, and I remember seeing those things fly across the dang lunchroom. We'd have a food burger fight. One kid throw a burger, hit you. Well, it's all over then.
You got hit by one.
Yeah, we used to get in those. We got in a lot of trouble for that though that day too.
I bet you did.
We had char burgers everywhere. They found out that we didn't like char burgers too well. They were kind of hard to eat.
They took that word char a little too seriously, didn't they?
Yes, they literally charred these burgers. And then I think they sat there for 3 days before they served them to us kids. And us kids, back in the day, like he can relate, just no offense, but it was like prison food. And I know prison food was probably better than some of the cafeteria food that we had in the day. But man, the food they got now, they're spoiled.
Yeah, they got gourmet food
Yes, they
now.
do.
Well, you know, after eating dog gravy, all my school
I
lunches
can
were
eat that
pretty
dog
good.
gravy.
Yeah, but I can actually say, and some of it was pretty, like the chili.
Oh.
You didn't want to leave your spoon in it too long. I did one time, pulled it out, and then half the spoon was gone. But I figured that
That's good
added
chili.
iron to the chili, you know.
Right.
But you know, another story about that. See, during the 60s, you know, we had demonstrations and riots. What's going on now is nothing compared to what we were having. And being in high school, I thought, you know, I ought to get involved in this. Maybe we ought to have some kind of boycott or a protest or
Some
something.
kind of something.
And they said, what over? I said, well, I don't know. I'll just do it for practice. I said, I know. And this actually happened. Now, I ain't jawing you on this.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, real deal.
Okay.
Somehow they looked up to me as the leader of the pranksters. But anyway, I said, well, I know. Let's just boycott the lunchroom. No particular reason, but let's just boycott it. Well, this was more just bluster than anything. But word got out. They had an emergency board meeting, which I didn't know about until after it was all over. And they contacted the school lunchroom facilities, and they said, make about half as much food tomorrow as you normally would, because the high school is going to be led in a boycott by that, you know, that ornery kid that we always round up with the usual suspects. Yours truly. And so the next day, and everybody in great anticipation of the boycott. Now, you got to understand, this is true every school. Every school has a program, a timetable, who eats first. Sometimes it's the high school, sometimes it's junior high. If they're all on one campus, you had to come up with a very detailed, to the minute, of when everybody was going to eat. Well, this particular year, it was the high school that ate first, because the the grade school had late breakfast, so you know
So let them go
so high school went first. So they were expecting to serve no food because this ringleader, yours truly, had called for a boycott. So I walk into the lunchroom, go up to the, pay for the meal and go up to the line. And some of my co-conspirators on this protest said, "Clarence, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm having lunch." "Well, we're supposed to boycott the lunchroom today. It was your idea." I said, "Well, it's not a good day. I'm hungry." Because there wasn't a day I wasn't hungry. So I learned from that. Don't ever boycott food. No, don't go on a hunger strike or nothing. No, I can't. That's one. I could draw a line right there. Don't do that. Said, "Okay, you mean the boycott's off?" "Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is." "Okay, well, everybody got in line." Okay?
Yeah.
So there was no boycott. Or was there? You remember I told you about that schedule? Well, we ate all the food. There wasn't any left for the grade school. They had to be prepared in the morning.
Oh, Lord.
And so,
We're
but
hungry now.
we didn't do anything wrong. There was no boycott. It was their reaction to what they thought was going to happen that caused the elementary school kids to go hungry. And if you're one of those elementary school kids, and you can remember this, maybe I'll buy you lunch sometime. Make
Oh,
up for
boy,
that.
there you go.
But I never got in trouble because I didn't do anything. I went to the lunch line.
And you got something to eat.
Yeah. It was their reaction that caused the trouble.
And their reaction caused everybody
And
else to go
I
hungry.
believe that is God protected me once again. Because later on, when I tell that story about the greatest school prank ever pulled in the U.S. history, God intervened and protected me. So I must have been on the right side of that little shenanigans. But it's a long story. It'll take a whole night to do that story.
We can do it sometime.
Yeah. But anyway, you had something about, you brought a rope up here. What was that all about?
Oh, I played with ropes when I was a kid, but today is June 13th. It's a big,
Oh yeah, June
June
13th.
13th. Everybody knows that anybody knows Ben Johnson. Today would be his 102nd birthday today.
Dude.
Celebrating Ben Johnson. God bless him. We love
Happy
him.
birthday, Ben Johnson.
And that's coming from the Duke, from Rooster and Ned Pepper. Shout out to happy birthday to Ben Johnson and his family. I know they're celebrating today. We had cake and everything at the museum, and it was a great day, and everybody enjoyed it. A busy day down there at the museum. People coming in and out. Just had a good time. I carried my rope because I was going to honor Ben Johnson, the way he was a champion roper around here. And when he was a young boy, he went to the Cheyenne days of Wyoming. And he's a young guy, and he went up there and he showed them how to really cowboy. Because he whooped them all. He took all around up there and showed Wyoming how we really cowboy here in Oklahoma. And I just wanted to say happy birthday to old Ben. Just pass that on. It's just a good day to think about. And what he's given us in the past is still going today. It's not going to stop. It's a good day, and you never know. Might get a song out of Rooster.
Well, you know, one of these nights we're going to do some singing. I'll have to do a little practicing. I got paid not to sing again yesterday. I did the famous Rooster rendition of Happy Birthday, and well, nobody wanted to hear that again, so they tipped me to go away. But that makes me a professional singer or a professional non-singer. It kind of, you might have to redefine it, but yet last night we didn't get this on the Rooster Rambling, but I talked to a couple of gals from Wisconsin, and now up there in Wisconsin and Minnesota, that's the cheese state, you know.
Yes, sir.
But another thing they eat is they eat a lot of herring, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Swedes and the Norwegians settled those areas. The Norwegians went mostly to Minnesota, and the Swedes were mostly in Wisconsin. But they both like a fish called lutefisk. Now, most of you have probably never heard that down this far south, lutefisk, unless you got connections up there. And Some people call it ludicrousy. Anyway, it sounds
Maybe
ludicrous.
ludicrous, maybe.
Yeah, ludicrous. Yeah. Anyway, this is the true story origins of lutefisk. It actually happened back in the old countries of Norwegia, Norway, or Sweden, and it was a hard winter, and they were running out of food, and then something terrible happened. See, they stored their food in storehouses, much like we put ham in ham cellars, and of course with the harsh winters that kept them frozen until they needed them. Well, one of those storehouses burned down, and I thought, well, there more people are going to starve now. And they said, there must have been an old couple of fellows like you and me, Doc and Rooster. They said, well, a little bit of fire and a little bit of ashes is not going to keep me from eating that fish.
That's right, they're cooked.
But you know, they were cooked. See, they stored them raw, but the fire melted the snow, was a whole lot of snow and ice, and actually boiled the snow and water. And when you run boiling water over ashes, you create lye. And the lye fell down on the raw fish and cooked it. And so lutefisk is lye cooked fish. And they still make it that way on purpose. They don't burn down the storehouse to do it. They just pour lye over it. Just like you make hominy by pouring lye, which is made by hot water over ashes. And they use certain kind of ashes to make it taste better.
Kind of like making soap.
It is, well, that's how you make lye.
Yeah.
But when that lye is in liquid form, it'll burn you. It'll also cook food that you soak in it, and that's how you make hominy. We actually had a hominy making session down there at the Pawnee Nation College.
Oh, wow.
The Pawnees showed us how to make hominy. There were the ashes. They boiled some water. They poured that over the ashes. It went over the corn, and you rinse that off a couple times. After it sits there a while, cooks it. You rinse the lye off of it because it's still poison. Lye is poison.
Yeah, you can't drink or eat or touch
it. It makes an acid out of it. See, and that acid cooks the food. And in the case of hominy, it actually releases some of the nutrition that you otherwise couldn't digest. It's kind of like an extra stomach, like cows have.
Yeah, they have
ruminate.
Yep.
Ruminate. And that's why when the Vikings came, they ate some of the corn that hadn't been cooked. They thought it was just horse feed, and so did the Spaniards. They thought, hey, you don't eat this stuff. Well, they weren't cooking it right. And a lot of natives even forgot how to do that themselves. Started getting canned corn, but you can buy. If you buy hominy in the store, you can look at it. But it needs to be Mexican style. You can look right on there, and you'll see the nutritional value of hominy is, in some areas, it should be all areas, if you do it right, is twice the nutrition of regular corn. Now, the commercial hominy, some of that they've watered. They made a real weak acid, so it's safer to use.
Yeah.
Well, it's safer to use, but it doesn't do as good a job as in cooking the corn.
There's the lye with it.
But that's how you make lutefisk. Now, the difference between the Swedes and Norwegian lutefisk is that the Swedes use mustard.
Yeah, it's a spice.
And there's a lot of rivalry between those two. They make jokes about like OU and OSU. They make jokes about each other. They call them dumb Swedes, and the Swedes have a derogatory term for the Norwegians. But they fight over that lutefisk. Well, I made a big mistake. See, I was married to a Norwegian. But I got to eat both kinds of lutefisk. Well, for the sake of harmony, not hominy, but harmony, I should have said I prefer the Norwegian style of lutefisk. But I kind of like the mustard style, which was the Swedes. Well, the family disowned me right then and there.
You
Now,
should have took the other one.
yeah. But, and that's a partially true story from Rooster. But I'm running out of stories tonight. And of course, you don't want me to start singing. So you got any more stories about roping or something? Or you got another story for us? About food or cooking on the camp trail, eating something? How about rattlesnake? You cooked your own rattlesnake?
Rattlesnake. Oh, yeah.
Talk about your rattlesnake eating.
My neighbor I grew up with when I was a kid, he taught me how to fish, how to eat off the land, and how to eat rattlesnake.
Now, how do you eat a rattlesnake?
Very carefully, they're bony.
You kill them first? Or you eat them live like those eels?
You cut them heads off first. Make sure they quit squirming. Take that tail off. You don't want to hear it rattling while you're trying to fry this thing. But yeah, I've ate them. They're bony, but they're really good if it's done right.
You know, I've actually have eaten. It was one that I was actually going to pick up. I thought it was dead. But it was just sleeping.
Uh-oh.
I was about 2 inches away from it, and I thought, you know, there's about a 50-50 chance, well, it was more like a 100-0 chance, that it could be asleep. So I said, might be safer instead of picking it up to poke at it with a stick.
I'd rather poke it with a stick first.
I poked at it with a stick, and it woke up and started rattling.
Oh,
I said, I
no.
guess it's alive, but it ain't going to be for
I
long.
want to eat that thing.
I want to eat that snake. And so I killed it. I don't remember how. But then I thought, well, I'm going to cut its head off, cut its tail off, skin it, cut it in little sections, and pan fry it. Bread it first, just like chicken, fried chicken. And you know, it does taste like chicken.
Yep.
And actually, a little bit sweeter.
It's
Has
a
a sweet.
sweeter meat. Yes, it's sweeter meat.
Yeah, and people, I'm glad you said that. When I tell people that, they look at me and say, Rooster, are you jawing me? You're saying rattlesnake tastes like sweet fried chicken? Well, you heard Doc Cho say the same thing right there.
Delicious. It's really a delicacy if you ain't never tried it. And
Let's go to a rattlesnake hunt this year.
Let's go.
All right. In Oklahoma, we have 7 of them scattered all over the state.
Out there in the Panhandle, they do a lot of rattlesnake.
And all different times of the year, too.
It's a big roundup they do a lot of places.
We'll have to check the Oklahoma tourism calendar and go to one. I bet they'd love to see Rooster Cochran and Lucky Ned Pepper eating rattlesnake at their Rattlesnake Fest. And if you're listening out there and you want to, just send me an invite. Well, you don't have to. We'll crash it anyway.
Hey.
It'd be nice to have an invite. So what do you think, Scott? Is that enough for tonight?
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying we might lose half the audience there.
All right. Yeah, see, I grew up out in the Panhandle. There's them rattlesnakes. We grew up, we're rattlesnake fighters and wranglers and all kinds of good stuff. Down in our little playhouse down there, we got rattlesnake displays. Got a jar full of about 500 rattlesnake rattles. My dad and I, we salvaged.
We salvaged.
Salvaged. But yeah, there's the rattlesnakes. They're everywhere out there. Everybody thought I was shy when I went to college because I was always looking at my feet. But in fact, I was looking for snakes.
Yeah.
Guys, this was another great evening here on the balcony in this amazing historic downtown Pawhuska, here on the historic Whiting Hotel balcony. If you guys are looking for some entertainment, we're down here. We also got some nice rooms. You can come stay the evening.
Yeah, book a weekend. We call them that. Rooster weekend. What did I say?
A weekend with
A rooster package.
Yeah.
Rooster
Get
package.
you a couple of rooms with a rooster package. And what that means is you can get up here and jaw with us during our live broadcast.
There we go.
Or not. Or we'll just show you the town. Give you a first-hand
Give you a
tour of the
tour.
town.
There you go. Private
We'll call that the
tours,
rooster package.
Rooster
There you
Pepper,
go.
maybe even Trotter here.
Yeah,
So,
package.
that's right.
And it'll probably be cheaper than the regular package if you had to put up with us. But anyway, you work that out with the boss back here. And come see us.
Please,
Come down from
We have a lot
Kansas.
of fun up here. I'm learning how to do
We know you people up in Kansas don't have nothing to do.
That's right.
And you don't have no history worth talking about.
That's my brother.
So
up
come
there.
on down, we'll give you some. And that's for the Czech girls that I met there last night.
Hey, there you go.
Anybody from all states,
All states.
get your behinds
Even
over
you
here.
Texans.
Yeah, we're going to show you some
Yeah.
hospitality and entertainment here in the streets of Pawhuska, Oklahoma, here on the historic Whiting Hotel balcony. Guys, thank you very much. We're going to sign it off. Have a good evening.